Is culture the most important thing? Yes, probably. The pain that we experience when we want to do a transformation feels cultural because people resist change, right? So if we could just get people open to change, all our problems would go away, right? No, right? Technology stacks, technology architecture, organizational design, process, governance, right? All that kind of stuff. What we're basically saying is that we hypothesize that we would be able to get agreement to do all the other things that we want to do. But a lot of times, there's real, like legit barriers. Is somebody going to flip your mainframe that basically does billions of transactions a day, it's your total profit center around all your ACH processing, and flip it into a services-oriented architecture overnight? Not gonna happen, right? It's just not gonna happen. It might happen over time, but it's not gonna happen overnight. If you could even theoretically flip culture, which I don't believe you can overnight, then you have to immediately, as a fast follow, you have to change the system of delivery, and you have to change the operating model that that system of delivery kind of operates within. So you change the structural context, and then you change the process context of the organization. And so what you guys have to understand is, what bet are you making with your internal stakeholders? Because if you bet on culture, first of all, you have a long road to hoe, because everything in your organization is incongruent with the cultural messages that you're trying to deliver. Okay? So you just know that you're introducing a tremendous amount of cognitive dissonance into your enterprise. Let's say they even get past the cognitive dissonance. Now it's about delivery. Okay, so what do we need to do, and what investments do we need to make in that technology architecture and the organizational redesign and the process redesign, all that different stuff? What do we need to go do, right? And so I would suggest that starting with culture is a dicey game. It's a dicey game. What we tend to do is we tend to focus on organizational design first. If you can't figure out how to create encapsulated teams that have a clear backlog that can produce a working tested increment of software at the end of a sprint, you're done. Right? Nothing in Agile is going to work. Right? What's interesting is that I can put people into that construct without changing their mind and make them more effective if I tie it back to business value. So once you've anchored into the business drivers, you can demonstrate how a different organizational design will enable those business drivers. And then once you have the right structural context, you can enable that context with process that is actually congruent with the organizational design. Anybody have teams that aren't like well-formed? You have like people matrixed across multiple Agile teams? Well, of course, right? You can't effectively do Agile in that context. Right? But if you put somebody in a complete cross-functional team, then you can teach them how to do Scrum, right? They can do Scrum and they'll deliver better with Scrum. And then you work on changing their hearts and minds, because at that point, the operating model that they're operating within is congruent with the cultural messages that you're trying to change.